Tune in, you know we have a lot to say, 'cause it's all about love and it's all about faith. Come join us as we live and grow. It's time to tune in to the MelnMo Show.
Hey guys, it's your girl Mel, and we have been so busy unpacking, so sorry for not dropping a more current video. But actually what you're about to see is actually an old episode of On the White Couch featuring Dr. K and myself, an honest true gem. And I just want you guys to drop your comments below, because this is a video that actually we recorded right after I came out with my book, Perception Was a Reality, Trapped by Choices, Freed by Purpose. And it gives basically an inside depth look of who I am and the different struggles that I was going through around that time. So we'll catch up with you guys next week. It's your girl Mel. Welcome to my first episode of What About Me, as I dissect my book, Perception Was a Reality, Trapped by Choices, Freed by Purpose. So for anybody who doesn't know, my name is Andrea Husbands, the author of Perception Was a Reality, Trapped by Choices, Freed by Purpose. My co-host today is
Dr. Capel. I'm the mother of this wonderful young lady and the author of Empower You, Build Your Self-Worth, and Know Your Net Worth.
So that's amazing. We got like a mother-daughter duo. I never thought I'd see that, but hey. So we're gonna kick right off. We're gonna get into it. If you guys have any questions below, I'm answering questions, but we're just gonna start the first episode now.
So I'm so excited to be on It's All About Me today as your first guest, and I'm so excited to be the mother of someone who produced such great work as Perception Was a Reality. So my first question to you today is, what inspired you to write this book?
Alright, so the generic question, what inspired me to write the book? So my inspiration probably had to come from, well, it's not probably, it came from obviously the person sitting right here, which is my mother. She wrote her book called Empower You about 2 years ago, and I simply was like, okay, this is so dope. How do I never thought in a million years I would aspire to write a book, first and foremost. I could never see myself putting myself out there for a whole bunch of people to like read and like, oh, pinpoint and be like, oh, that's you. First of all, I would never even say my name. Like, everybody knows me on social media is Tiny. So first I was like, all right, if I do come out with this book, like, am I gonna have like a pen name? I don't want anybody to know that's me, because then they'll know my story, right? But I was like, as time went on, what gave me the actual oomph to write the book was simply saying, okay, I know I have struggles, I know I went through things, but if I can overcome it, why not be a blessing to somebody else so that they can overcome it? Because so oftentimes we live in like this selfish world where you want to stream perfection to everyone, and it's just like, at what point do you come to yourself and realize, like, you're not perfect, we all have struggles, but I had to become transparent and vulnerable to put my struggles out there to be a blessing to somebody else. So the inspiration came from actually just realizing, outside of seeing my mom do her book and empower so much people, that I had it in me too to do it. So I was like, all right, hey guys, I'm gonna write a book. And that's how it came up.
Awesome. So tell me, as you were going through this project, because it really was a project that you were birthing, what were some of the, like, maybe challenges or struggles that you dealt with as you were writing this book?
The biggest challenge, I think it was writing the book, was the outcome and what people were gonna say when they finally read the book. Like, I'm putting so much in-depth details in this book, like, the people who are my friends or the people who don't know me from anywhere, like, what is their perception gonna be? And then as time went on, it was like, wait a minute. That's when I actually came up with the name of my book, saying Perception Wasn't Reality. So, because regardless of what the outside exterior looks like, me writing this book lets you know this is what it really was. So this is the authentic me telling you, hey, this is me. So the biggest challenge was worrying about people and what they would say about me and how they would feel, and if they would still look at me the same. That probably was the biggest thing, because people who didn't know me prior to me writing the book, it was kind of like they just saw this one image of me. So it was like, oh man, I'm about to write this book, and then they're gonna have to read it and be like, ooh, you went through all of that. Or it just kind of came to me where it was like, I don't want sympathy from people. That was like my biggest thing. So I would try to curtail to what I was writing. Like, I don't want people to feel sorry for me. So let me take this out. Or I don't want people to see me and be like, oh, you had such a hard life. Or you went through this. And then it was like, this is not about me. It's just really not. It helped me writing the book, but it wasn't about me. It's for somebody else. So I had to take my personal feelings outside, and that probably was like one of the hardest things to do, was to just erase the image of, this is not Tiny, this is Andrea writing a book, and people need to hear it. People need to read it.
Wow.
So that probably was the biggest thing.
So let me ask you something. You know, you just mentioned that you didn't want people to feel sorry for you or whatever. What would you say to, I often say, your test will be your testimony to help someone else who may be going through similar struggles. Can you speak to that?
Oh, absolutely. So you go through things, and sometimes you want to rejoice in private because you're like, oh my God, I beat this. Nobody had to know. But then you have to take the selfishness out of it and realize, okay, I beat this, but it might be tens, hundreds, thousands of people that's going through the same exact thing that doesn't know how to beat this. So why not be a blessing to make your test a testimony to somebody else? So that was my thing. Like, let me just be selfish. I just wanted to isolate my entire happiness to myself because I was like, I don't want anybody to disrupt me. I don't want anybody to get into my space of happiness, of me coming and conquering and having my testimony. I didn't want that, and I didn't understand why I didn't want that in the beginning. I just wanted to keep it to myself and continue to go on, when I had to realize that so many people that's probably dealing with something that I've dealt with that's like, yo, I don't know how to get out of this. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. How did you do it? Oftentimes people, I always see people say, why do people broadcast when they are doing something good for the homeless or when they're helping out? Why are you doing that? And everybody's like, if you're going to do a good deed, do it in private, right? But we're in the era, right or wrong, of social media and using that as an influence and a platform. So that's how I looked at this book. This is my platform, right? Instead of me doing it in private, I did it for the public, to motivate the other person, to show somebody else, hey, you can do this as well. You can write your book. If I could do it, you can do it. Sometimes people need to see the actual end result, the actual goal of somebody doing something, so they be like, you know what? I could do that too. I didn't think I could do that. If she did it, I know I can do it. We look to celebrities and all these great moguls like, oh man, I want to get to that one day. And it's just like, you can look to the person to the left or right of you that's gone through the same struggles that you might have gone through, that's on the same level as you, to motivate you as well. And my thing is to be able to motivate my peer, the younger people coming up, motivate the older people coming up. We are in a totally different generation these days where that is needed.
So, I know we're going to dig into the book a little bit. Not a lot, because if you listen, can I have a copy of the book?
You can.
If you have not purchased this book, I strongly suggest that you go to purposelyliving.net and get a copy. Get one for a friend, a frenemy, an enemy. Post it out to them, a sister friend, a daughter, a niece, someone that may be dealing with some struggles. And it could be anything that you're dealing with. And this book is really going to help you to dig your way out of it and plow your way through it, because it's just so awe-inspiring. And I would say to you, if you have read this book and you are on here today, just interact with us. Just give us a tidbit of what you gain from this and what others can possibly gain from it. So one of the things that I want to ask you is, one of my favorite part of this book, and I'm not going to let too much out, is your poem, I Choose Me. I mean, that was the most wonderful piece that the entire book I love, but I Choose Me. What it is that inspired you to write that poem? Because I can clearly remember that you wrote that in one night. You sat, and then the next morning we had this beautiful penned poem, I Choose Me. Can you speak to that as to what inspired you to write that, and where you are now from where you were then when you wrote that poem?
Ooh, I Choose Me. The poem I Choose Me is exactly what it sounds like, of me saying I choose me. Where I was at when I was writing that, it came from, it was like almost like a gut-wrenching thing that I felt that I needed to do. For so many years, I felt like I lived in the facade of what everybody expected me to be. When I say that, I mean, year by year, Tiny progressed, right? Everybody saw Tiny like, oh, you into clothes, you into fashion, you have this great life, you must have all this money, X, Y, Z, right? And every year, I struggled to keep up with this image that I created for myself. Not struggled financially by no means, but struggled to please other people, better words. And everybody's like, oh, what?
Validation.
I needed the validation.
Yes.
Me. I absolutely needed the validation from other people in the sense that I never wanted to look like I was off or I was lacking in any type of way. I chose what everybody else wanted. I made sure I had that image for others to emulate. But I was completely broken. I was unhappy. That is like the worst feeling in the world, to choose everybody else before you choose yourself. And came to a point where I couldn't do it anymore. It was times where I was like, I would lay down in my bed and I'm like, oh man, I can't sleep, I'm restless. Because I'm thinking, what am I gonna post? I know that sounds funny to somebody, but this is serious. For those who haven't seen my old Instagram, I would take pictures and I would cut my face off.
Wow, can you speak to that?
I would cut my face off in my pictures, and I would try to make sure that whatever I posted, I had a great caption to go with it, and I just wanted the validation of people saying, oh man, she gets all these new clothes, she does all this great things, and I needed that. It was like an addiction for me, but it wasn't truly fulfilling me in any type of way on what I needed to. Like, no amount of money, no anything was giving me that joy inside. Like, I'm happy. It was like I was content with the validation. So when I wrote the poem I Choose Me, it stemmed from a lot of, I didn't want to choose anybody else anymore. I didn't want to have that weight on my back of having to please other people or having to live up to somebody else's standards. So I Choose Me literally came from me saying, yo, I'm done with this. I choose me. Whatever that looks like, I want to be happy. So however that comes, whatever it looks like, to me, that's what I'm content with. Not to everybody else. Because for years, I lived with living for everybody else. So it was almost like insanity. I did the same thing year by year, year by year. It was
what
like,
do they say about that, right? Insanity, doing the same thing, but
expecting different results
is a sign of insanity.
Absolutely.
Now, the cover of your book, and I just love this book. I just love the color. I love it. Not because she's my daughter, but I just love it. And what I want, now I know this picture here indicates breaking out of a mask.
Mm-hmm.
So can you explain that a little bit? Can you speak to that?
Breaking out of the mask? That's kind of exactly what it was. I had a mask. I had a facade. Even though you saw me physically, it was still a whole nother, it was an image. It was a layer that I had to put forth in order to get through day by day. That was my demeanor. That was it's like having a cape, right? Like, okay, if I have this hardcore, solid demeanor, nobody will talk to me. They won't play with me in that type of way. They'll know to respect me. So imagine doing all of that and then finally saying, okay, why can't I be emotional? Why can't I be vulnerable? Why can't I be transparent? Like, who made these rules to say I couldn't do any of this? It's like I lived in all these rules that when the cover of my book came, it was kind of just like, I'm out of here. Like, I don't want to be behind this glass anymore. Like,
enough is enough.
Enough is enough. So that's kind of where that whole shattered glass came into fact, because it was just like you living behind this silhouette. And you going day by day, and it's just like, oh, this is whack.
Wonderful.
I'm ready to go.
I mean, such a beautiful breakthrough. Thank you, Nisha. It is definitely a beautiful breakthrough. And the book, the name of the book is so fitting, right? Let's dissect that name for a little bit.
Let's dissect the name. All right. Yeah. Perception wasn't reality. I'm in the military, for those who don't know. I'm in the Navy. I've been in 10 plus years now. So in the military, the biggest phrase and slogan you're gonna hear is perception is reality. And I remember, like, my first year or second year in the Navy, every time I would hear that, I'm like, what are these people talking about? Like, if it looks like that's what you're doing, then that's what you're doing. And I'm like, who made this up? Who deemed this to be a fact? It was almost like, just because this is what it looks like, that does not deem it to be so. It looks to a lot of people like a lot of these rappers and musicians or whatever have all this money. But sometimes that is very much so not the case. So the perception of what they're portraying might look like that, but that's not what the underlying fact is. So the perception wasn't reality part actually came from me being in the Navy and everybody always saying perception is reality. So I started that off with perception wasn't reality. What you saw is not really what it was.
So how does that relate to you as an individual, though?
In what sense?
Perception wasn't a reality for you.
For me, the expensive clothes, the image that I portrayed, I don't have a care in the world. Not everything is good, but it looks good. It's packaged up well.
But can I interject here a little
Wasn't
bit?
the case.
You naturally love nice things.
Naturally.
You have a good taste for that.
Naturally.
But there was a deeper path to that, right? It was more of a covering up of hiding behind this mask.
Yeah, absolutely. I hid behind my clothes.
This is who you project to be.
Yeah.
But a lot of people saw a hard exterior. They saw an unapproachable person sometimes. Can you speak to that sweet spirit that lied under that high
Yes,
shell?
it was more just like anybody who dealt with me or was in close contact with me, it was more just like, I can't let you get and try to crack this shell, because then you're gonna find out that I'm this super vulnerable, emotional person who is unhappy as I don't know what, who was unhappy. Let me rephrase that. So I had to dress that up. I had to package that well. I had to make that look good. Why? Because what else was I supposed to do? Have people, oh, what's wrong with you? No, I wanted that image so that people would stay away. I didn't want people to ask those questions like, are you good? I was taking whatever came with it, like, oh, you stuck up, you're cocky. And that was never the case. I was so far from that. But because that would give that distance between me and somebody else being able to get close to me, I went with it. That's plain and simple what it was. In order for you not to get too close to me and really dig down deep and see that my thoughts are crazy, I'm gonna dress it up and I'm gonna make sure it looks good.
So what would you say to someone right now who may be going through the same exact thing? They out there, they're a power woman during the day, they're independent, they're high-powered, right? But then they go home at night and they crack and they're broken. What would you say
It's
to
not
someone?
worth it. It's not worth it. It's like time is one of the biggest things that we have, right? So to continue to live your life day by day, putting on this image and then going home and knowing that your life is just simply not where it is, while these other people are going on with their lives, they see you, they like your picture, they tell you you look nice, that's about it. What are you gaining from that? There's nothing to gain from that. I had to learn that the hard way. There's nothing to gain from that at all, besides the validation from somebody else who does not know anything about you besides what you show them. And what you show them isn't even really reality.
That's deep. Ooh.
You so silly, Mom.
Wow. So let's go on down now. Then
What
we
do you
had
need?
trapped by choices.
All right, let's stop there. Trapped by choices. That part of it, self-explanatory. Trapped by choices. I chose every path in my life. Some of them I didn't choose too much, but the majority of my decisions, my choice. When you do something, you almost feel like now you have to live in that, right? I want to give a great example. You know what? This is the perfect example right here. Everybody who knows me, who have seen me, have seen all these tattoos all over my body, right? I felt for years there was no way for me to escape the girl with the tattoos, the girl who looks like Lil Wayne. I was like, man, I made this choice to get all these tattoos, which I deem, and I'm not knocking anybody who wants to get tattoos for me. It was a permanent decision for a temporary emotion. I thought it looked cool, absolutely. I thought it was like the best thing I could possibly do. Put it on my neck. I'm so glad I never touched my face, but that's what it was, right? So now after all of this is said and done, it's almost like I was like, yo, how do I beat this exterior? How do I get out of this? I'm trapped. Like, there's no way for people to see outside of how I look. What am I supposed to do? there's nothing I could possibly do right now because it's there. It's just permanent, but it's far from permanent. It's now has become me, but it no longer holds me back in the sense that I'm worried about what you think about my tattoos. I was trapped by my choices, so I thought. Because I did this, this is the outcome. This is how they're gonna look at me. I can't change their mind because that's all. And you're gonna keep hearing me say, I can't change their mind. These people, whoever they are, wherever they're at, I was still trying to please them, trapped by my choices. It's a cycle. I'm still going on and on. I don't know what to do. I don't want people to think I'm this. I don't want people to think I'm that. I mean, it didn't even matter. So all these traps that I felt like I had was based upon me. I put myself there and I kept myself there.
So, was it difficult for you to start saying, you know what, it was like, I know one of your favorite songs is The Chains Are Falling, right? I know you run that song to the ground sometimes. But can you share, can you talk a little bit, how did that feel, like being trapped by those choices that you made? And now you getting to that place where like the chains and the shackles are falling off of you as a result of you making different choices. So can you speak to that?
Speaking to that would then in turn the ending of my book saying freed by purpose. I was trapped by those certain choices that I made, but in return the feeling of not having this heavy load on you, not having to appease everybody everywhere you go, not caring what people think is a experience, a feeling or experience I cannot describe. So much times you're like, oh, I don't care what people think. That's my favorite line. I don't care what nobody think. My mother, why are you doing this? I don't care what nobody think. Caring all along. Caring all along. Definitely caring what people think. But it was just like that feeling of finally taking off that backpack and finally letting go of the very thing that's stifling you, that's killing you, is undescribable. It's like you holding on for air and you can't get it, but I still don't care what anybody thinks. Just waiting to breathe to finally be like, I really don't care what anybody thinks.
It's official now.
It's official. Like, I really don't. And not worrying about pleasing somebody else and what they're gonna say. Like, how do you feel? Why would you do this? I get the questions all the time. I'm never mad at them because I want to help you to not care about what other people think. So
wow, ooh, that's powerful right there. That's powerful. So freed by purpose. We are in that section now. How does that feel? Who the Son of Man set free is free indeed.
I can't even explain that in words. I think it's more explained through my actions. Like, I don't care what it looks like to somebody else, what my happiness looks like to somebody else, because it's exactly that, my happiness. But exactly what it is, the fact of not living in the likes and the shadows of other people and expecting validation from them. So me being free by my purpose, I knew it was a bigger purpose to me. I never knew all along. I used to just like sit there, and I say this a lot to anybody who's encountered me. I'm like, man, I'm supposed to be doing something. I'm supposed to be big. I just don't know what I'm supposed to be doing yet. That has been the same lingo from a kid. I'm like, I'm supposed to be big, but I still haven't figured out what I'm supposed to be doing yet. What it looks like. I'm gonna be on a big stage one day, and my friends will laugh at me. I'm not a rapper. I'm not a singer. I'm not any of that. But what am I supposed to be doing? To some people, writing a book and being transparent and being vulnerable to the everyday people might be like, oh, you wrote a book. Oh, that's great. But for the hundreds of people who have purchased this book, who it's helping and changing, the one person that it changed or it encouraged was the biggest that it could have done for me. The one person. If 1,000 people bought the book and it changed one person, I feel like that was my purpose. I feel like I did what God needed me to do and help somebody else along the way. So to be freed by purpose and know to walk out and say, it's bigger than me. It's bigger than what I'm thinking on this low level scale of.
Yeah. Well, you know, I just want to interject here because I've been with you all your life.
Not all my life.
Well, you know, growing up, I know there was a phase where I wasn't physically there,
yeah.
but I was there emotionally and spiritually. And I knew ever since you were a little girl that there was something in you that was different. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I knew God had a bigger plan and a bigger purpose for you. So at time we give our kids the foundation and everything, and then at some point they stray away. Oh, I'm free. I can just live my life, right?
Absolutely.
But I knew all along that God's hand was on your life.
Let me say this.
So I want you to address that.
I'm gonna interject really quick. Well, now I don't even need to interject. For the many of people who are underneath the covering, who has your parents praying for you daily, and you grow up and you go out into the world, for the parents that might be viewing this, continue to pray for your kids. Continue to cover them. It might seem inevitable, like there's no way. Listen, they're gonna come back. We need some people grow and learn things in a different way, but sometimes you need to go out in the world and you need to experience these things, because none of the things that I've experienced I regret at this point, because it made me and it put me for this moment right here. So it's kind of like, yes, even though you weren't physically there, in the back of my mind I still knew that you were there.
Do you hear my voice?
Sometimes I'm like, oh Lord, this lady. She'll call me randomly. What are you doing? Da-da-da-da-da. Did you go to church? It's not a church here in Japan, Mom. And if it is, I haven't found it. You need to get back in church. I'm like, Lord, here she goes. But she never gave up on me. That was the big, she never gave up on me. And I'm glad she didn't, because I often wonder if she did. And some people, let them live. Let them do whatever they want to do.
Yes.
Nope.
Yeah, and I just want to say to mothers that may be listening there's a time for mothering and there's a time for parenting. And sometimes we just have to be that guide or that covering, because sometimes you have to let them fall. Not meaning it in a bad way, but you just have to let them go, because sometimes we try to hold on so tightly and then we make things worse by not letting go. Sometimes they have to go out there and they had to experience, and I held on to Andrea for a long time. I'm still holding on.
She's still holding on. I was like, what?
But then there became a point when I had to just kind of release the rope and just let her go, and all I had in my control was to keep her covered in prayer. That was the only thing that I had, and just knowing that that God had her. He had her, and I know at some point she was going to come back to where her foundation. And so I am just so excited, and she's a work in progress, as we all are. Right? She's not like, I'm this holy roller now. No, we are all a work in progress. But it is so wonderful, and so I'm so excited to see her growth. Because I don't know how many parents may be going through different situations with their children, and they're like, you know what, I don't want to have anything to do with you. I'm going to give up on you. No, if you can reach them physically, you can have a conversation with them. Maybe they're not even speaking to you. Keep covering them in prayer. Keep sending love their way. Keep speaking positive things over their lives. Because what we speak takes action and take root, and it actually happened, right? Words are powerful, and sometimes as parents we speak such negative things over our children's life, and they do come to pass. So regardless of what it looks like, our children are a gift to us from God. And regardless of what they may be, not just if they're honor students or they're doing great or they're successful, oh yeah, and if it's not, then you cast them aside. No, you got to keep speaking life into these children. You got to keep loving them, because the society that our kids are growing up in right now, it's so much pressure. I mean, I have not heard the young kids saying, I'm stressed out. I don't remember having any stress when I was growing up, but there's so much stress right now. So I just believe this book, this platform that God has allowed you to have, that He has burdened in you now, is don't give up. Don't pull back.
No, we just getting
Keep
started.
moving forward, because you don't know how many other people are dealing with different situations. I mean, you have received so many text messages, emails,
letters.
So many people are reaching out and say, oh my God, they're raising my hand. I was there. I've been through this. I have not told anyone. It's been 20 years. It's been 15 years.
Don't give away
there's
the book
so
just
many
yet.
people. I'm just saying the people that are reaching out to you, and I mean that's so sobering to see that the impact this book is having. So go to purposelyliving.net. I pinned it on there, purposelyliving.net, and get a copy.
Well, she said it. No, I was playing. But make sure you grab that. By the way, I was never a fan of going live. I always was like, why people sitting there talking to a camera, watching people view them? Then I was like, all right, God, I see what you're doing. You preparing me for the biggest stages that you want me to be on. Little stages, big stages, classrooms, wherever. So yes, I have no problem. I am opening myself up. This book, I've opened myself up. I've been transparent. I feel like that's me being strong, being able to let my guard down and let people see the real me and enjoy me and me seeing the real me. So this is episode 1 on the white couch. What about me? And I was so grateful for everybody that watched, viewed on today. You guys have no idea. Make sure you grab the book. It's a good project. I put my heart out in this. And I know that it has been a blessing to others. And I know that it'll be a blessing to you guys. So,
Until next Saturday.
Until next Saturday, this is episode 1 on the white couch with Dr. K and her daughter. This is the white couch. So make sure you tune in again. See us work. Get your book, Mom.
Yeah.
Empower You. Perception wasn't reality.
Available on Amazon. Available on drannecapel.com. You can get your copy here at drannecapel.com.
Also, this book is on Amazon. So if you've read it, make sure you're writing reviews. You're letting other people know. You're encouraging other people to purchase this as well. But until next time, as we said again, peace out from the white couch.
Peace out from the white couch.
1, 2, 3, 4. Tune in next week to the MelnMo Show.